From being the national heritage animal of India since 2010 to being culturally significant not just in India but many more South and Southeast Asian countries. This animal has been part of wars historically. It's part of religion and culture of many countries. However, despite such significance, this animal faces a serious threat of extinction. With only 50,000 members of its species existing in present, this species may soon leave reality and exist only in tales. I'm talking about the largest land mammal on the Asian continent, the Asian elephant, or Elephas maximus. Today, on the episode of Daily Podcast, I am joined by Mrs. Aliya, the ambassador of the Asian elephant community. We will be discussing all sorts of things about Asian elephants, their habitat, threats they face, and also their status in India. Mrs. Aliya, welcome to the Daily Podcast. Thank you for having me here. Would you like to introduce yourself a bit to the audience? Sure, I'm Aliya. I'm an Asian elephant from the state of Kerala. I am the ambassador of the Asian elephant community. I'm here to talk about the issues our community faces and also talk a bit about our country and what it is doing to protect us and many more like us. Thank you for the introduction. I think we can begin. I mentioned it in the beginning that your community is significant in some South and Southeast Asian countries. Could you take us through the habitat of the Asian elephant? So, we Asian elephants inhabit dry to wet forest or grasslands that span 13 countries across South and Southeast Asia, as you said. Some of the countries that we are found in uh, are India, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, and China. We are found in tropical and subtropical forests of these countries. Also, although we move freely across Asia, but since our populations are diminishing, lessening, it's not so common anymore. Half of More than half of the population of our community are found in India, while the rest of the countries such as Vietnam, Cambodia, and China have seen our numbers getting less and less over time. We are forest animals and we live in a wide range of habitats, evergreen, deciduous, dry forest, grasslands, bamboo forests, even swamps. Um, we prefer areas that are more low lying, that are open, grassy, and so we can easily move around, escape from the sun, and also have a lot of plants to feed on. Uh, During this dry season, we migrate to areas where there are water sources, permanent water sources like rivers, streams, and natural springs. To not only find water but also find a lot of vegetation so we can meet our daily requirements. We also like being in areas that are muddy and have a lot of mineral deposits because that is important for our physical well being. We are not essentially territorial, but we do have like ranges and areas which we consider as our homes. And the size of that area can depend on the amount of food available and the presence of other elephants in the area. What is the diet of Asian elephants? Asian elephants are herbivorous, and we require a lot of food to maintain our massive bodies. Um, Adult elephants, we consume about 130 kilograms of food per day. Our diet is primarily includes grasses and other sort of fibrous plants, which we can digest uh, through a complex system, which has a lot of which has a multi-chambered stomach, specialized microbes, and all sort of that. Uh, Aside from solid food, we also require a lot of access to water sources, because we drink a lot of water to stay hydrated. uh, in certain areas, Asian elephants are known to feed on crops, including crops like sugarcane, bananas, and other fruits and vegetables. This can often lead to clashes with farmers, which is one of the major reasons behind a human elephant conflict in many regions. Human elephant conflicts, I have read about them a lot in recent times. They have become rampant in recent times. Every now and then there is some sort of animal that has either some sort of elephant that has gone into a residential area, and uh, clashed with the humans there, and all sorts of things. So how many cases does your community face of these human elephant conflicts? I'm going to use some data here. Uh, you see, human elephant conflicts have, over the course of the past 5 years, led to roughly 2,853 human deaths, um, of, as of 2024, and 2023 was one of the highest records in the 5 year span. It was 628 casualties. Um, and there's data out there that has been given out by the government of India that, you know, that that can help you know how many human deaths have been related to, human and elephant conflict. Um, so it's easy to be like, elephants are um, animals, so of course they're going to kill humans. But there's a need to understand that this conflict doesn't arise because elephants have some deep seated hatred towards humans. It happens because our habitats, uh, you know, they clash with the habitat of humans. The government has told that it's the responsibility of union territory and state government administrations, on the behest and the fact that the central government provides them some financial and technical support, that they ensure the wildlife habitats are safe for us as well as humans. Because of that, um, across India, 150 elephant corridors have been set up to ensure that our community does not clash with humans. Uh, can you briefly help the audience here understand what an elephant corridor means and why they are so important? Elephant corridors can be elephant corridor. It's a very literal meaning. They are literal corridors. Essentially, they are this strip of land that ensure that elephant movement between two or more habitats, friendly habitats, happens easily without any conflict with humans. So, for example, there's one habitat A, and then there's habitat B, and but going from habitat in habitat B means that our community, our people, our elephants, they essentially come across humans. To avoid that, there's a strip of land that ensures that there's an easy sort of movement between these two habitats. So that's essentially elephant corridors. Um, why it's important is, first of all, as I have already mentioned, India has more than 50% of Asian elephants. They have the largest number of wild Asian elephants in the world, from 29,000 to 30,000. That's the estimate as of 2017. And which is about 50% of the species global population. There are 33 elephant reserves spread across 14 states, um, covering about 65 8,800 plus square kilometers. From all the way from northeast to central to northwest to South India. It is a lot of it's a huge territory. However, um, elephant reserves are such that they include human use and habitation. Like humans are present in elephant reserves in area, and they lie in such like unless they are part of a reserved forest or a protected area, elephant reserves are not legally protected habitats. So essentially, on its own, elephant reserves aren't legally protected unless they are part of a reserve forest or a protected area. Uh, so because of that, a large part of our habitat it's unprotected, and humans can easily enter our territory, and cause a lot of problems. While our populations are concentrated in northeastern states or east central India, the Himalayan foothills in the north, and the western and eastern Ghats in the south, we do require a lot of free movement, which means it doesn't matter where our habitats are concentrated, we require little more than that area to be able to move between those habitats, which means we require the right of passage, RIGHT, right of passage, between the areas, to be able to move from one habitat to another habitat, which ensures that there is genetic flow, and there is we are able to, if one area is uh, not providing us enough food due to seasonal changes or anything, we are able to move from that area to another to be able to find food. So, because of all these reasons, there's a huge requirement for these strips of lands that can help us walk between habitats without clashing with humans, and that's what elephant corridors are all about. Thank you. How about you talk a little bit about the society of the elephants, the social life of your community? Asian elephants are they are very sociable. We are very friendly. We form groups of 6 to 7 related females. It's mostly females, and the oldest female will lead the group as the matriarch. Just like our counterparts, the African elephants, uh, these smaller groups will join together to form larger herds. Although this is relatively short-lived, like we don't form these herds for long term. It's like only for a while. Compared to the African elephant, our counterparts, these herds are smaller in size. Um, we're also really intelligent animals. Um, there's a lot of strong family bond, sophisticated form of communication, and there are a lot of complex behavior. We use tools. We can feel grief. We can feel compassion. And we have these trunks, versatile trunks. They are very capable of brute force. We can use it to push a tree over, reach for leaves that are not easy to reach, because the end of our tusk, it acts like a finger at the tip. And so yeah, we are very social animals. So which is why that I think that despite this conflict, we are capable of maybe being friendly with humans. I think we just before this picked this discussion about conflicts with humans, and and often a cause, and often this conflict with humans is a consequence, or it's both a cause and a consequence of course, the threats that your community faces. uh, um, based on what based on the threats your community faces, uh, because we know your population is really small, it's 50,000, and half of it is just in India. What's the status of your community internationally as well as in India? In the IUCN Red List, since 1986, our community has been categorized as endangered. It mean our main threats include habitat loss, habitat degradation, habitat fragmentation, and poaching. A lot of it has to do with habitat because, as I said, I mentioned it really early in the podcast that we are forest animals, and forests are something that are slowly being destroyed to open more land for either agriculture, development, and all sorts of stuffs. Because of which, forest destruction threatens us, and population fragmentation threatens us because you see, if elephant corridors did not exist, it would be hard for one set of elephants in a habitat to interact with another set. That would mean there would be a lot of population fragmentation, which can strain our ability to genetically diverse a group. And if there is no genetic diversity, it eventually impacts the population's ability to expand itself. Uh, Other sorts of threats that we face are, poaching. People target us, they poach us, they use or they traffic us for just entertainment purposes. No sorts of I mean, there is no reason to do this to us, but still this is even worse. You're taking us away, destroying a community for just entertainment. uh um in Asia is has two of the most populated countries on earth, India and China, because of which it's just not us, but in general, human and animals are just finding a little hard to, find a space to live together. Because you see, the kind of place animals we survive on, we thrive on, is completely different from what the kind of place humans thrive and survive on, which can create a lot of clashes. And often because we don't have the same power, the same resources to expand our territory, it's often us that are at the receiving end of a habitat shrinkage and all sorts of other things, which means that once we start losing what is our home, we are forced to survive by entering the homes, the houses, the areas of humans, which leads to human elephant confrontations, and which is and it's not helpful for either humans or us. It's harmful to both of us. It can cause problems for both of us, which is why it's important to address this issue. Uh, um, we are also listed on the Appendix 1 of the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species sites. It means our, our the trade of our individual parts, all sort of things that are related to us, it's prohibited under the sites under the convention. We are also part of the Schedule 1 of the Indian Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, which grants us the highest level of protection. Poaching, trafficking, and trading of our community, it's strictly prohibited. And in case that these violations happen, that we are poached and trafficked or we are traded, that can lead to a lot of penalties, hefty fines, and even imprisonment. Um, for those of you who might not know what CITES is, in the previous video we discussed it, so you can watch that to know more about it. Coming to India specifically, Miss Aliya, what are the steps that have been taken to protect your community in India specifically? There are a lot of steps that our government has taken. A lot of projects, a lot of all sorts of things that are there to help our community remain safe. Because after all, we are mostly most of our population is found in India. Project Elephant is an initiative which was launched in 1992. It focuses on safeguarding our community against poaching, habitat destruction, and also ensuring that there are no conflicts between us and humans. Uh, it's under this that wildlife corridors are established, protected areas are managed and established to ensure that we have a safe and sustainable environment to live in, and it promotes research and understanding of our behavior, health, and population dynamics to better understand our problems and help us through these tough times. Uh, uh, then there is the monitoring of illegal killing of elephants, or MIKE program. This was mandated by the COP resolution of the sites I mentioned above. This program was started in South Asia in 2003. It was there to provide information to understand the elephant range states, and essentially then make more appropriate management and enforcement to help our population in these states, and long-term management of our populations in these states. Then there is the Hathi Mera Mere Sathi campaign. uh, uh, in the reference of the movie Hathi Mere Sathi. This campaign was launched by the Ministry of Environment and Forest in partnership with the Wildlife Trust of India. Uh, it was launched at the Elephant 8 ministerial meeting in Delhi in 2011. The Elephant 8 countries are countries like the India, Botswana, Republic of Congo, Indonesia, Kenya, Sri Lanka, Tanzania, and Thailand. And their aim was to bring people together, spread awareness about our community, and develop a sort of bond between people and elephants. And as I said, we are very sociable, so it's really easy to get us to be friends with people. There is also the project Rehab. It was first introduced in Karnataka. Rehab stands for Reducing Elephant Human Attacks Using Bees. It was first introduced in Karnataka, and after its success, it was then introduced in Assam. It was launched in Assam. It was launched in March 2021, 15th March of 2021. Then there is also the fact that there are a lot of elephant reserves in India, and they were established under the Project Elephant that I mentioned above earlier in 1992. And this is to ensure that our habitats remain away from humans, and we are not poached, and there's a coexistence between us and humans. Some of the notable reserves are the Periyar Wildlife Sanctuary in Kerala and Kaziranga National Park in Assam. Uh, they are essential in maintaining our biodiversity, maintaining an ecological balance, and ensuring that our species survive. And also internationally, World Elephant Day is observed on August 12th, and it is there to spread awareness about our species and threats that we face. Thank you for that detailed explanation. You mentioned the Wildlife Protection Act. Can you, help us a bit through this, especially for my audience? Yes, definitely. The Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, you will hear it a lot in when it comes to conversation about animals in India. So the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, it's there to provide this sort of legal framework to ensure the protection of all sorts of species of wild animals and plants in India, and ensure that their habitats are managed, their trade is regulated and controlled, and any products that are made from them is also regulated and controlled, that it doesn't impact their their status. uh, there are different schedules under which plants and animals are put listed, such as our community is listed under Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act, as I mentioned. It also helped the in if it also it was what made easier for our country India to enter the CITES, the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wildlife, Fauna and Flora, that what I mentioned above. It made us it because of this act, it was what made easy for India to enter this convention. Jammu and Kashmir was not under this Protection Act till 2019, when the Reorganization Act came into being, and since then, the animals there are also considered under the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. Uh, some of the constitutional provisions for the Wildlife Act are uh, the 42nd Amendment Act that happened in 1976. Uh, Certain things such as the forest protection of wildlife, wild animals and birds, these things, these uh, topics, themes, they were transferred from the state to the concurrent list. Um it's the under Article 51A uh, G. It's it's a fundamental duty of each citizen of India to protect and improve the natural environment, such as forests and wildlife. And it's also under for Article 48A. it's it mandates the state under directive principles of state policy that they should try and protect and improve the environment of animals and safeguard forests and wildlife areas of the country. Now, there are certain schedules under the Act, such as Schedule 1, where the species that are found in Schedule 1 are endangered species, and they require a lot of protection. And anybody who violates this law under for animals under this list, there is the harshest penalty that be they will be suffering with. Uh, any species that come under this schedule, they are prohibited to be hunted all across India, unless and until there's a threat to human life, or there's a disease wherein the animal cannot recover, and in that case you're allowed to. Otherwise, in any other case, the species found under the schedule are prohibited to be hunted. Some of the animals that are in this schedule is one, our community, the Asian elephant, the black buck, the snow leopards, the Himalayan bear, and the Asiatic cheetah. In the second schedule, uh, the animals that are here, they they do have high protection, just like Schedule 1 species, and there's a prohibition on their trade. Some of the animals that are listed here are the Assamese macaque, Himalayan black bear, and the Indian cobra. The third and the fourth schedule species are not essentially endangered, but they are protected. Hunting is prohibited, but the penalty is less compared to the first two schedules. Um, Under Schedule 3, we have species like the cheetal or the spotted deer, bharal or the blue sheep, hyena, sambar, it's a deer. And then we have animal protected that are protected under the fourth schedule, and these animals are flamingo, hares, falcons, kingfishers, magpie, and horseshoe crabs. And then we have the fifth schedule. These are considered as small wild animals, vermins that can carry diseases or destroy plants. These animals are allowed to be hunted, such as we have common crows, fruit bats, rats, and mice. All these animals that you humans are often irritated by. Uh, there is no this restriction on hunting them, although I'm not sure why you would want to hunt common crows. But then we have the Schedule 6, and it provides the regulation. It's related to plants. It regulates the cultivation of some specified plants and ensures restricts the possession of these specified plants. Their sale is restricted and their transportation is also restricted. uh, if you have to cultivate the plants that are under this schedule, you have to have a permission from the authority. And some of the plants that are included in this schedule are the Vedomace cycad, or this is very much native to India. We have blue vanda or blue orchid, red vanda or red orchid, kuth, Sausuria lapa. We have slipper orchids, and we have the pitcher plant. Now, there are certain organizations that come under this act that are related to the wildlife. We have the National Board for Wildlife. It's the topmost, the apex body, which reviews all sorts of wildlife related matters, and this is the organization that approves projects in and around the national parks and sanctuaries in India. We under that we have this we have the State Board for Wildlife, which is basically the state version of the national board. Then we have the Central Zoo Authority, which has 10 members, and it is related to zoos. It is supposed to recognize zoos, and also it is supposed to regulate zoos across countries. We have the National Tiger Conservation Authority, which is related to tigers. Uh, it was made after the recommendation of the Tiger Task Force in 2005. And we have the Wildlife Crime Control Bureau. It is there to combat any sort of wildlife crime in the country. Certain areas that are protected under this act are certain sanctuary. We have the sanctuary, national parks, conservation reserves, and community reserves and tiger reserves. So in 1991, we had an amendment to this act. This amendment strengthened the amount of penalties and the fines that were given if a wildlife related offense was committed. And it also introduced certain more provisions for the protection of endangered species. We have an amendment that came in 2002, which aims at introducing community reserves and conservation reserves as protected areas. In 2006, yet another amendment act came, which dealt with the issue that we are dealing with a lot, that is human wildlife conflict. And this is where National Tiger Conservation Authority came into being, and which was there to manage and protect tiger reserves. Certain provisions were brought to for the creation of a tiger and other endangered species crime control bureau, so to deal with wildlife related crimes. We had an amendment to this act in 2022, which in which is which aimed to increase the amount of species that were protected under the law and to implement sites. Uh, so all sorts of these changes. This act also permitted the use of elephants for religious or any other purposes. Uh, Certain initiatives that were under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972 are the Project Tiger Conservation, aimed at conserving tiger populations, Project Elephant, aimed at our community, and wildlife corridors that are there to ensure movement between one habitat to another habitat. The India's first urban wildlife corridor is planned between New Delhi and Haryana. It is near the Asola Bhati Wildlife Sanctuary. And yeah, I hope that this helped, and I hope this cleared a little bit about so you have a better understanding of what India has to give to the species, the animals of its country. Thank you, Mrs. Aliya. You have been extremely interesting to talk to. I mean, I have learned a lot from you today, and I am hoping so did my audience. Talking to you tells me that there are steps being taken to protect your community internationally and as well as nationally in India. But of course, as is the case, the question is, are these efforts enough on their own? And what role does a common human play in it? Because how far can the governments, the people in power go to be able to protect us unless, the common people don't put the effort to do so? I agree. I mean, if the common people they don't act, then there isn't much that can come out of, because these laws are aimed at you, not us. We are these laws, they do protect us, but the provisions there are, they are written, they are designed to stop you from doing things instead of stopping us from doing some things. So it means it's asking you to in the sense cooperate with whatever sort of resources we have, whatever sort of power we have to be able to protect our community. So whatever efforts come, they come from those on ground instead of those in power, more from those on ground than those in power. Absolutely. Thank you for this insightful conservation. Hoping to have you here again. Thank you very much. Thank you. And as we wrap this episode up, a reminder to hit that subscribe button and the like button for more interesting and informative episodes. Until next time, signing off for today.